Hello, everyone, and welcome to Shaymin Reviews. This is the second review for anime, and today we're going to do the 2013-2014 anime series from JC Staff called Golden Time.
夢の中で会えたら言えるかな。
Now, this show, I think, is one of the most underappreciated, if not the most underappreciated show of all time. I'm a huge fan of this show, and I think that a lot of shows that don't have a dub get overlooked sometimes, but only sometimes. You get shows like ReZero who only have a sub, and it's the second best anime of the entire year last year. But Golden Time, I think, gets a little bit overlooked, especially in the romance genre, as one of the better romance anime of recent memory, of maybe even of all time. So let's just get into the plot for a second. It all starts off with Banri Tada, or they like to call him Tada Banri because you say your last name first in Japan or whatever. But he's a college student in the freshman class who has been technically held back. He ended up losing his memories in a horrible accident and went to Tokyo to go to college. And there he gets lost on his first day and he encounters Mitsuo Yanagisawa. My apologies if I butchered that for a second. And the two, get talking. They're both mutually lost, and they start, developing this kind of friendship. This bro friendship thing. But on their way to class, a limo pulls up right next to them, and I'm sure this scene has been played a million times. But this gorgeous, eccentric blonde girl named Koko Kaga comes out with a bouquet of roses and slaps Mitsuo across the face with them and gets all super pissy. Now, obviously, a lot of things going on here at the very beginning of the show, and, well, things kind of fall into place from there. We learn that Coco has been following Mitsuo basically her entire life and trying to get him to marry her, but he does not requite her feelings, and he actually went to the school in Tokyo to get away from Coco. So we have this whole dynamic that Coco is trying to follow Mitsuo. Mitsuo and the main character, Banri, are, getting this close relationship, and of course, Banri is dealing with the fact that he lost his memories, and he's honestly kind of scared of getting them back. Not necessarily at first, but as he starts to develop as a character, you start to see this kind of fear that his memories coming back would erase who he has become. Without really spoiling anything, one of the things that I would like to real quick state is that if you guys decide to watch this series, which I would already highly recommend you go and do that, skip the opening. At least for like the first 12 episodes, at least until the second, the different opening and the second half of the season. This is a 24 episode anime series. It's it's not lengthy by any means, but it's one of the longer ones. It definitely deserves the 24 episodes. But I definitely recommend skipping the opening. Now, I love the opening song for the first one, but the opening scene, the actual scenes that play out during the opening are kind of spoiler heavy, I guess. At least to a degree. It would definitely draw a lot of questions at the beginning, and you'd kind of get the answers to them as it goes along, but, like, I would definitely recommend skipping the opening if at all possible, because it definitely gives away a little bit too much about the show. I really dislike when openings do that. You should not spoil major aspects of the show, and I think that one of the rather major parts of the show gets spoiled in the opening, so I'd highly recommend you skip it if at all possible. But something that this show does really well is it adds that kind of distinct and necessary sense of drama to the overall storyline, because you have all of these growing romantic interests for many different characters going on all at once, and you kind of get this really dramatic take on actual relationships, because you've got characters that like other characters, and you've got these actual love triangles going along, and obviously things would start getting pretty crazy. Characters would start disliking each other just by association with the person that they like, and things get into a big hot mess. But you also get the kind of nice college life going on, Banri and Mitsuo going, to a drinking party for the first time type of thing. And then you've got these crazy college girls that are, like, absolutely insane. By the way, a fantastic episode that was. And then you've got, these weird cults and crazy things going on in college where you can't really trust a lot of these clubs that are super shady, and that kind of thing. So it gives off this kind of odd, realistic vibe, but it's also got the main character having these memory loss problems, and he's got like this kind of back and forth thing with, should I really go out and try and make friends and try and live my own life, because if this old version of me comes back and I start remembering things, what if that changes who I am? And so then you get a lot of different aspects to the whole memory loss feel that, honestly, at least from, I've watched over 300 anime series. I have not seen a memory loss anime quite like this one, with that kind of realistic approach to it, on how, when you lose your memory, obviously you have that very difficult spot at the beginning where you're like, well, I'm not the same person as my parents remember, as my friends remember, as whatever. And then obviously, as time goes along, you're kind of become scared of remembering everything. And so when you get these tidbits of information from your past, it kind of freaks you out. And I think that that's something that is very well expressed in this anime, especially as the anime goes along. So let's just check out the characters now. We've got Banri Tada, who's obviously lost his memories. He's kind of timid in a way, but also, he's trying to live life to the fullest, and he's, he's by himself in an empty apartment, living alone. That college life, and he's, trying to, make the most of this new life that he's been given him. And, he's a really actually good main character for the most part. And it's, you really got to feel for this guy as the show goes on, but I'm not going to try and spoil anything for you. And then we've got, Mitsuo, Banri's best friend over the course of the anime, who is, he's a very interesting character, to say the least. He's obviously got Coco on his back 24/7, trying to know where he is at all times. But as he's doing that, he's trying to do whatever he can to get away from Coco. And over the course of the series, he tries to... He starts going into he goes to the film club. He's, going out doing other things, and thankfully, Banri, as the good friend that he is trying to get Coco to kind of move away from Mitsuo, so that way she's not hounding him all the time. As you can kind of guess, she's extremely possessive. Very possessive. But as Mitsuo, and Banri have that weird bromance relationship going on, and it's actually pretty entertaining to watch those two as they hang out. And then of course Coco herself, she's a very passionate girl to say the least. Very she puts 110% into everything that she does. She's actually she's probably my favorite character in the whole show, to be honest with you. I know, like at the beginning, hounding Mitsuo, getting, having to know where he is at all times type of thing. But she decides, if I'm going to love this person, I'm going to put 110,000% into loving them, which is super overwhelming. But for some people, it might not be that bad. But she not only does it with that, she puts it in to, making, she puts it into being friends with Banri, and to put it into the culture club. They do the traditional dance and stuff. She puts 110% effort into that as she tries to not be a robot while dancing, and it's really admirable, to be honest with you. And she also has, just some great, she has a lot of character flaws, but she honestly is a really good, kind-hearted person that cares. And then we've got some other characters. So we got Nana Hayashida, who's a girl that somehow has a relationship with Banri. Not in that sense, but more of the fact that she knows this guy. And while Banri doesn't know at the beginning of the show, he later finds a couple of clues that says, well, maybe this Nana girl that's in my club knows me because I have, a picture, and she's in my yearbook. And so there's something definitely going on there. But, why would Nana not pretend not to know Banri at the beginning? And, she's a really cool character in this show as well, obviously. She's a very kind-hearted person, and she wants everyone to be happy all the time. She really doesn't put her own feelings before other people. If her feelings get in the way of, how someone else is feeling, she'll put those aside to help that person out 9 times out of 10. And it's really impressive. It's really impressive that she's able to do that. And she's a really great character as well. And then finally, out of our 5 main characters, we got Shinami Oka, who's the eccentric leader of the film club, and she's very outgoing and she's very passionate. But obviously, due to this whole romantic angles going all over the place in the, romance polygon, things get heated, and she's, again, very passionate about, everything. So she obviously, if she sees something happening and she is, furious that, a person's doing poor on someone else, or someone's annoying someone by constantly trying to, hound them, cough, Coco, cough, you've got Chinami will make it known, especially if you're a good friend to her. Because, again, why be passionate about someone that you don't even know and you barely know the circumstances? As for the animation, as you've seen throughout this video, the animation is pretty, average, good for the time. Anime is just becoming so good. Like, almost every studio just has terrific animation quality, and this one, is about average, just like, all the other ones. When it's really necessary, they do put some effort into the scenes and making sure that everything, works out well. But honestly, they do a really good job with that. As for the music, the soundtrack is pretty good. I really like it. The first opening song is just terrific, and the second opening song is really lovely too. I really like it, and I like the second opening a lot more, especially with all the stuff going on in the actual opening, not the music itself. Because by that point, all the spoilers that were in the first opening no longer matter because you've kind of explained everything, and then it actually kind of gives you that sense of confusion now that everything's becoming a lot darker and more serious. The drama's starting to take hold. Not going to spoil it for you, but shit's starting to go down, to say the least. And you kind of get that feel in the opening, especially the song even adds to that same feeling. And I honestly think that the second opening is terrific. I like the first opening more in terms of the soundtrack, but I like the second opening more in terms of actually being about the show and not necessarily spoiling everything going on in the show. As of this moment, it's only available in sub. I don't see it getting a dub anytime soon, unfortunately. I really, really hope that will one day change, because if it gets a dub, then I know more people will watch the show, and I really, really, really think that more people should watch this show. For whatever reason, the show is just not highly watched, and I just don't understand it. The plot is very interesting. The characters are all terrific. It's got the great mix of comedy and drama, and I really think that this is a romance show. If you are into romance at all, that you should definitely watch it. And even if you're not into romance, there's enough going on in this show to where the intense storyline, especially in the second half of the show, could keep most people intrigued. At least I believe so. I give this show probably like an 8.75 out of 10, a really solid show, and that just goes more so into how much I think that people need to watch this show. I mean, I really think, it might not be for everyone, obviously. I don't think any anime is for everybody, but I highly recommend watching this show. It is one of the, in my opinion, at least off the top of my head, it is probably the most underrated anime that I've ever heard of in my entire life. Like, it is just such a good anime, and it deserves more attention, and I honestly think that you guys should go out and watch this show. For recommendations, both if you've watched the recommendations, I'd highly recommend watching the show, and vice versa. Let's just start off with probably the best tsundere romance anime of all time, Toradora. Most people who like romance anime have watched this show, and if you haven't, obviously, I mean, good lord, it's probably the best. It's definitely the best tsundere romance anime of all time. I'm going to say it's probably second to Clannad in terms of romance anime in general, but, I mean, that is a very hard list to fill. Clannad is definitely the top in terms of romance anime, for sure. Mostly the after story, but that's neither here nor there. But one of the best romance anime of the genre, if you like the tsundere kind of main character. Obviously, this show, Coco, isn't a tsundere. She's definitely not a tsundere. She makes it full well known that she likes who she likes, She makes it full well to Mitsuo, calling him all the time, etc. Toradora is a little bit different on that aspect, but they're both really, really great romance anime. But Toradora, a lot more lighthearted comedy style up until the very end. Kind of the same type of thing where the end gets a lot more intense. Things start happening, shit goes down. That's, second half of a lot of romance anime, shit goes down, drama intensifies. But Toradora is a fantastic anime, and if you like Toradora, which I feel like more people will have watched Toradora than this show, then you definitely should watch Golden Time. It might not have a tsundere main character, but it's kind of got that same really comedic, romantic stuff going on at the beginning, and then stuff going down, drama intensifies, and depends on what side you're on, a rather satisfying ending. So then there's Naji Asu, which was my other recommendation, which also has this kind of romance polygon, bunch of people falling in love with other people. And it's also got a really comedic vibe at the beginning until about the last 3 episodes of the first season. I guess they're seasons. About like episode 9 or 10. The first like 8, 9 episodes, lots of fun. You get to see this kind of awesome world about, these guys that live in the ocean and are sea people. They can breathe underwater, and how they interact with the people on land as they, go to school there and whatnot. And as this great storm is approaching, stuff gets crazy. And then in the second half, like, oh man, at the midway point of the show, around like episode 11 or 12, when the shit starts to go down and hit the fan, man, that's when it really gets absolutely terrific. The story is amazing. There's quite a bit of romance in it, but it's not the main point, and it is a terrific anime, especially if you like the kind of anime that start off like really happy and good vibes and stuff, and then kind of slowly work their way into really dark and dramatic stuff going on. This is definitely a great show for that, and it's also got quite a bit of romance in it. It's a very it happens to be a very central part in all of the disaster going on in the world in that show, and it's just an amazing show. And if you haven't watched that one either, I'd recommend it. And if you have watched that one, I'd recommend you watch Golden Time. And yeah, that's what I have for this episode of the Anime Review. So let me know in the comment section down below what you think, and possibly future projects. You want to hear my opinion on anime that you've already watched, or that you haven't watched but want to learn about. Definitely comment in the comment section down below and let me know what you guys want to see from future anime reviews. Click that subscribe button if you haven't already, so that way you get future anime reviews. Go check out some of my other episodes if you haven't already, and I'd love to see you back in the next one.